"Surprised you showed up," my father said, swirling his wine like I was the stain on the rim. "Didn't think failures liked cake." I froze in the doorway, not because the words hurt, but because they didn't, not anymore. The room fell silent, not out of shock, just dismissal. Nobody looked my way. The chandelier threw light across a perfectly set table full of people I used to know. I hadn't seen them in 14 years, but somehow they looked even colder than I remembered. Every seat had a name card. Every plate was full, except mine. There was no place for me. I gave a small nod and forced a thin smile. "Cake's free, right?" I said, keeping my voice light, like we were strangers at a conference, not father and daughter at a family celebration. He didn't respond, just looked back down at his glass. His silence was louder than any insult. I stepped into the room, boots echoing against the polished hardwood. The smell of roast duck and clove oil filled the air. I took the only seat left, the one nearest the swinging kitchen door, the one they used to give the caterer's assistant. Steam and garlic rushed in each time it creaked open. Across from me, my younger brother Eli leaned back in a navy blue suit, gold watch catching candlelight. He looked up from his phone just long enough to smirk. "Logistics must be slow these days if you found time to show," he said, swirling his glass. "Still scheduling things," I replied. "Like funerals." His smirk faltered for half a beat. Then he laughed, tight and hollow, and turned to flirt with the cousin on his left like I hadn't spoken. The silver clinking resumed. Then my father stood, raising his glass like a general returning from war. "To family," he announced. "To legacy." A toast, but not for me. "To those who stayed," he continued, "when things got hard, and to the son who rose to meet the challenge." He clapped Eli on the back. The room erupted in applause. My stepmother dabbed her eyes like she was watching a homecoming parade. I didn't clap, I didn't blink. I just folded the corner of my napkin until it tore. People love revenge stories because they want justice in a world that rarely delivers it. But sometimes it's not about revenge. Sometimes it's about refusing to vanish. I had spent over a decade overseas, covered in sand, smoke, and sacrifice. I'd pulled people from wreckage. I'd led convoys through fire zones. I'd buried friends. And none of it earned me a single glance at this table. Not one person here asked where I'd been. Not even my mother's name was mentioned. I wasn't just forgotten. I was erased. And somewhere beneath the ache in my chest, beneath the polite smile I wore like armour, I knew this night would mark the start of something. They thought they buried me. They were wrong. The Rowe family Veterans Library looked shinier than I remembered. New glass doors, marble flooring, a gold plaque over the entrance read, "In honour of the Rowe legacy, past, present and future." No mention of who built the damn place. 10 years ago, I wrote the first cheque that helped renovate this building, back when I still believed in subtle ways of giving. Quiet legacy, let the name go, just help people. Back then the plaque just said Wyndham Hill Community Centre. Now it bore the family name like a brand. I stood outside for a moment, letting that sink in. Then I walked in. The girl at the front desk had a ponytail and a hopeful smile. "Hi there. Are you with the Rowe delegation today?" I blinked. "No, just visiting." She tilted her head. "Oh, you must be family. Are you from Mr. Eli's side or Mr. Victor's?" I gave a short laugh. "Apparently neither." She flushed. "Sorry, I didn't mean—" "It's fine," I said, cutting her off gently. "I used to help fund this place, that's all." Her smile came back. "Well then, would you like to see our new military archive? It's really impressive." I followed her down a side corridor. New lighting, polished glass cases, photos of men in uniform lined the walls. Some I knew, some I didn't. But one made me stop cold. It was Eli, dressed in a tailor-made replica of a formal uniform, not regulation, no rank insignia, just medals gleaming under staged lighting. A child stood next to him, holding a flag. "This one's popular," the girl said. "Mr. Eli never served, but he says he carries the family's military legacy." I didn't respond. The archive room had digital terminals. She pulled one up. "We're digitizing all local service records. Would you like to see yours?" I hesitated, then nodded. A few clicks, then row, Delaney, branch, logistics, status, administrative discharge, mental health review, no rank, no deployments, no medals, no Fallujah, nothing. I felt like I'd been punched in the throat. There was a watermark on the file. Row group, public affairs. "Is something wrong?" she asked, reading my face. "Dusty history," I muttered. "Guess someone decided to clean it too well." But in my chest, I felt the burn. This wasn't a clerical error. It was a deliberate rewrite. They didn't just leave me out. They rewrote me out of existence. I don't know if you've ever seen your entire past replaced by someone else's fantasy, but if you have, you get it. Honestly, I'd like to hear what you'd do in my place, because in that moment, I didn't know whether to laugh or break the screen in half. Grace didn't say much when she opened the door. She never did. Same sharp eyes, same desert-weathered voice, like every syllable had to earn its way out of her mouth. She handed me a black coffee, no sugar, no cream, then slid a small folded towel across the table. Inside it was something I hadn't seen in years, a brass pin, Travis's eagle insignia. I stared at it. Time had dulled the shine, but not the weight. "You recognize it?" she asked, voice low. "Of course I do," I whispered. He wore it every day, cleaned it with the same rag he used on his rifle. It was part of him. Like the way he always walked 3 steps behind, like he didn't want to outpace anybody's grief. "He left it with me," Grace said. "Told me to keep it hidden, told me not to open it unless someone tried to bury you." My fingers froze. "He said that?" Grace nodded once. "He said you'd know how to open it." I turned the pin over. To anyone else, it looked like a solid piece of brass. But I remembered the seam, barely visible, right under the left wing. Travis used to fidget with it when he was thinking. I grabbed a paper clip from the sugar tray, straightened it, slid it along the edge. There was a soft click. The back popped open. Inside, tucked in a microfoam pocket, was a black micro SD card, no bigger than my fingernail. My throat closed. I didn't even realize I was holding my breath until Grace touched my wrist. "Let's go to my office," she said. Her office was a converted storage unit behind a tire shop. No windows, just metal, concrete, and rows of locked filing cabinets. She powered on a battered Dell tower, booted into a private sandbox, and inserted the card. The screen lit up. 3 files, 1 audio, 1 PDF, 1 encrypted document marked Travis Last. We opened the audio first. 2 voices, one clearly Eli. "We can't risk it being tied back to her. Just use her ID for the contract routing. She's listed as mentally unstable. Nobody will ask questions." Then another voice, unfamiliar, maybe a contractor. "Won't that backfire if she resurfaces?" "She won't. Trust me. We buried her already." My jaw clenched. Grace said nothing, just clicked open the PDF. It was my original discharge request, but the one I actually wrote. Travis must have saved the draft before it was altered. It showed I requested a temporary leave after Fallujah, not a mental health discharge. No mention of instability, no black marks. The final file was a video, low resolution. Just Travis staring into the camera from what looked like a field tent. "If you're seeing this, I'm probably dead. Delaney. They're going to erase you, just like they tried with me. But I saved this because someone had to remember the truth. Finish it." I couldn't breathe. That voice, his voice, cut through years of silence. He'd known. He'd seen it coming. And he'd trusted me to finish what he couldn't. I looked at Grace. "I'm not just coming back," I said. "I'm coming for everything they built on my name." She didn't smile, but she nodded, like she'd been waiting years to hear me say it.
The old house looked smaller than I remembered. The paint had faded, the garden was overgrown, and the porch light flickered like it was tired of being asked to stay on. But the silence? That part hadn't changed. I stepped inside through the side door, still unlocked, still creaking the way it always had. The scent hit me first, lilacs and old wood. And something else, like memory left too long in the dark. Donna stood in the hallway, wringing her hands in the apron she probably hadn't taken off in 20 years. "I hoped you'd come back," she said softly. "You knew I would?" I asked. She hesitated. She did. She, my mother. Donna led me to the study, the same heavy shelves, the same Persian rug I used to trace with my fingers as a kid, while Mum read aloud from books I didn't understand but loved the sound of. The desk was neat, too neat, like it had been curated, not lived in. Donna nodded toward the framed photo on the credenza, one of the family from years ago. I wasn't in it, but the frame sat slightly crooked. I picked it up, turned it over. A loose flap of backing paper had been folded once, then taped down. I peeled it gently and found what I didn't know I was hoping for. A plastic sleeve. Inside it, 2 handwritten pages. I knew the handwriting before I even opened it. Every curve and slant, every loop in the Y, it was hers. The date, February the 10th, 2021. To whom it may concern, I, Margaret Rowe, being of sound mind and will, name my daughter Delaney Rowe, sole heir to the Wyndham Hill estate, including all holdings, trust accounts, and property assets. This document supersedes all prior revisions that omit her name. I blinked. Once, twice. It was real. Not notarized, not filed, but real. And behind it, another note, in her voice, not legal language. You may erase her from the dinner table, from speeches, from plaques, but not from blood. She wears pain better than pearls, and one day it will make her unstoppable. If she returns, give her what's hers, or I will haunt you, Frank. Jesus, Mum. Donna's voice cracked behind me. She made me promise to keep it safe. Your stepmother told me to burn it, said it was outdated.
Said you'd never come back, but Margaret, she looked me in the eye and said, if Delaney returns and I'm gone, make sure she finds it. I didn't know what to say. For a moment I couldn't breathe. Why didn't you send it? I finally asked. Donna looked down. I was afraid it wouldn't matter, that he'd find a way to twist it. I scanned the pages with my phone, backed up every file 3 ways. The originals slid into the inside lining of my jacket like something sacred. She didn't forget me, I said, more to myself than anyone. No, Donna whispered, but she knew the people around her would try. I looked around the room one last time. They'd built an empire on my silence, but she'd left me the one thing louder than their lies, the truth. And now, I had it in writing. The auditorium smelled like fresh carpet and cheap applause. Everything was white and polished. Folded programs sat perfectly on every chair, each with Eli's face printed front and centre. His jaw was sharpened by Photoshop, his uniform just barely legal. His medals, manufactured history. A banner stretched above the stage, Rowe Legacy Veterans Centre, honouring the past, building the future. I stayed in the back, half-shadowed, behind a fake ficus plant near the catering table. Victor took the stage first, my father, still carrying that smug, polished tone like a weapon. Today, he began, we honour sacrifice. Not just the kind made in battle, but the kind made to carry a family forward. My son, Eli, understands that legacy isn't just earned, it's continued. I scanned the crowd. Donors, politicians, veterans, some I recognised, most I didn't. Then Eli took the mic, all teeth and charm. Not all heroes wear uniforms, he said. Some carry the weight of others, some inherit stories and keep them alive. I took one step into the aisle. He paused, saw me, and froze, just for a heartbeat. My sister, he said,
voice faltering before recovering. "We're glad you could join us today." He smiled like it was a peace offering. I didn't take it. I kept walking. The room murmured, then hushed. I stopped mid-aisle. "That's funny," I said, loud enough to carry, "because according to your press release, I was discharged for instability. According to your revised military files, I never even served in combat." Whispers. Eli's jaw tensed. From the far side of the room, a voice called out, "Commander Delaney, row, ma'am." The voice was crisp, commanding. A man in uniform stood, Colonel Langford, one of the few officers I'd pulled out of a fire zone in 2011. He stood at attention and saluted. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Cameras clicked. I stepped forward, pulled the files from my coat, and laid them on the podium. "This is the truth," I said. "Not the story they sold you. I was never discharged. I was buried." Eli opened his mouth to object. Victor stood frozen, but the room had already turned. And I didn't need their silence anymore. I had something louder. Proof. The sun rose quiet over Wyndham Hill. No press, no banners, no speeches written by PR firms. Just a small group of veterans in folding chairs and a bronze plaque gleaming in the morning light. The Travis Memorial Center, for those who were nearly forgotten. I didn't build this place for headlines. I built it for people like Travis, like Grace, like the ones who came home and were told to stay quiet. Inside the front case, under glass, sat two objects, Travis's eagle pin and the handwritten letter from my mother. No caption, just truth. Mitch stood near the wall, hands behind his back. Nolan was snapping photos, quietly, respectfully. Donna sat in the third row. She didn't speak, but she nodded when I caught her eye. That was enough. At the end of my speech, I said only this. They erased me because I didn't fit their version of legacy, so I wrote a new one. Afterward, a boy, maybe 10, walked up holding a crayon drawing, me in uniform, Travis beside me. Between us, a spark, coloured gold. "What's this?" I asked. He shrugged. "It's the light. You're passing it to him." I knelt. "And what do you think happens to that light?" He smiled. "Someone else picks it up." That answer stayed with me. Back at the cottage that evening, I placed my rank insignia in a plain wooden box above my mother's old writing desk, not as proof, not as a shield, just closure. Before sunset, I visited her grave. The daffodils had bloomed again, wild, untamed, and stronger than before. I knelt down. "You gave me a place to return to," I whispered. "Now I'm giving others the same." Then I stood, stepped back, and breathed. For the first time in years, it didn't feel like I was surviving. It felt like I was home. If you've ever been written out of your own story, if your name was forgotten at the very table you once set, if your silence was mistaken for weakness, tell me in the comments. I'll read every word, because your story matters too.